And we are back with another episode of the Michigan Sports Media podcast. Um, I feel not great right now, if I'm being real with you guys. My energy is very low, and it's for a lot of reasons, but for one big reason, which is what the fuck is going on out here, folks? I do not get it. Look, I don't. The whole. I'm just gonna start this show off with a quick rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. I didn't really know him that well. Obviously, I didn't. I didn't align with his freaking beliefs for the most part. I assume. I don't really know. Based on what I've seen, though, I didn't agree with him. But it's just sad that this is what we're doing. It's just insane to me. Like, um, the way that we seem to be going towards violence instead of away from it. Scary, scary times. Hopefully, we can figure this shit out and come together instead of being apart because that will scary. That's all I'm gonna say. That is very scary. The more we drift apart as a nation, I don't know what's gonna happen to us. But with that being said, let's talk about what we are here to talk about, which is sports, Michigan sports specifically. Speaking of that, we all know football weekend was a bad weekend for Michigan football and Lions football. However, hopefully this weekend can be better. The Lions play the Bears, and Michigan plays Central Michigan this weekend. So we might get some wins, we'll see, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. We are going to start the show today with a little bit of Tigers. Really, literally just an update. We're not really going to talk about them too much because, like I just said, football's back, baby. So we are in football mode. We've been talking Tigers for months, it seems like. So I don't know if I want to say burnt out, but we're just kind of waiting for playoffs, and we'll pick it back up then. But with that being said, James, the floor is yours for our Tigers update.
Thank you, Jason. As you said, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. It may even be under a minute because, as you mentioned, we're just kind of waiting for the playoffs to happen. We are essentially, unless we have the biggest collapse in MLB history, we're guaranteed at least a wild card spot. We might even be mathematically in it. To be honest, I haven't been doing wild card numbers because we have such a big lead on the division, so it doesn't really matter. But long story short, we have only 18 more games left in the season. And that may sound like a lot if you are not a baseball fan, but that's like 2.5 weeks. So it is going to be coming down to a close here soon. And our magic number to win the division is 10. So between these 18 remaining games, any number of Tigers wins or Cleveland losses, once we hit 10 of either of those or any combination of those, the Tigers will have clinched the AL Central for the first time in 11 years. And then from that point, we will obviously move on to the playoffs, and we'll see matchup wise who we get at that point. But everything's so far so good. We just beat the Yankees last night. We're still kind of going up and down. We're not, you know, looking like we were earlier in the season. We don't look like powerhouses, but we don't look like pushovers. We're kind of right in the middle. And until Cleveland does something drastic, it's our division, and the playoffs will be here pretty soon.
Yeah, for sure. And with that being said, like we
Yeah,
said,
that's
it's
it.
going to be a very short segment for the Tigers today. But with that being said, we will now move on to Michigan football because and this is another kind of short segment. Um, as we all know, Michigan kind of got their ass kicked last week, unfortunately for everyone involved. They lost 24-13 to Oklahoma, and I know that might not sound too bad. It's only 11 points. If you watch the game, you know what I'm talking about. Michigan basically did nothing on offense outside of one big catch by McCulley and one big run by Haynes. That's how it felt all night. It was literally like nothing, nothing, nothing. We opened the second half, 75-yard touchdown, nothing, 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 nothing. Like, and I know we may have scored, 13 points, but that ain't enough. That ain't getting it done. And that's not to say that it was, because Underwood was bad or anything like that. I honestly watched, from what I saw from him, it was pretty good. Like he still looks pretty good. I don't obviously he didn't look as good as he did week one, but there's a lot of reasons for that. The O line was not as good because honestly, Oklahoma had a great scheme defensively against us, and I also feel like they schemed really well against us offensively too. I feel like John Mateer is very underrated right now. I feel like he's one of those quarterbacks that doesn't really get talked about when we're talking about NFL, so we don't really talk about him at all. But I feel like he's a pretty damn good college quarterback. He might even be a decent NFL backup or something like that too. I could even see him like being like a third round pick and somebody trying to give him a shot. I mean, I don't think it would be that crazy. Obviously, we're only two games into the season, so we'll see how that goes. But um, I still feel really good about the running back room in general. It does feel like uh, that's kind of our still our bread and butter offensively, at least right now. Haynes obviously had that big run, but he had a pretty good game outside of the big run too. I think, let me see, if you take away that, what was it, 75-yard touchdown? Well,
I
shit, never mind.
believe.
If he had a 75-yard touchdown, he only had 50 yards on 18 carries. So
Yeah,
without
I'm like he
that,
got shut down besides that one run.
yeah, which is probably a big reason why our offense did not do very well because like I said, it does seem like we kind of go through the run game still, which I don't think is a bad thing. I just think it's bad because it's not working. I mean, that's really
Yeah.
all. That's what it comes down to. So basically, long story short, Michigan did not play very well on either side of the ball this week. The defense honestly was the big surprise for me, though. I kind of figured, Oklahoma's defense was going to come in and play pretty well. But I didn't expect our defense to play that poorly, especially the run defense. I mean, let's see. Statistically, we gave up 75 yards and two touchdowns to a quarterback that's not known for running. Not that he can't do it, but people don't look at John Mateer and go, "Man, that guy is mobile. He's an athletic quarterback." He is, but he's not Lamar Jackson. Basically, is what I'm
Yeah.
getting at here. He can do it, but he's not necessarily known for it. And the fact that we gave up so much shows, in my opinion, it was more of a schematic issue. I do remember a few times though where they straight up ran fucking quarterback power, or they ran a couple times they had the pitch option. So they like running with him, obviously. So we might see more of that as the season goes, but not great for Michigan football. And like you mentioned before the show, the O line for Michigan just was not great again. Like O line last year was not all that great either. But I don't know if I would say it's worse this year, but against Oklahoma, that might have been one of the poorer showings I saw in the last 12 months or so. But with that being said, what are your thoughts on Michigan's loss?
Yeah, we got our ass kicked. There's just no way around that. I just gotta take it on the chin. You can't polish that really in any way to say like, oh, look at the bright side. At least the only thing I can even say in slight um compliment, and it's kind of a patting myself on the back, which I mean, it's not the time for that, but I said TJ Metcalf might have a pretty good game, and he at least had an interception. But other than that, Bryce Underwood did not look that well in terms of production. I'm not gonna badmouth the guy or anything. He still is I won't say learning the college football, adjusting to the college football game. Like you can see the talent, you can see how tight the spiral is, you can see when he runs, he has the athletic ability. So like he's going to be fine, but he's got to go through some of these growing pains. It is definitely a growing pain kind of year. I mean, I can't remember his exact birthday, but I remember in week one they said it was like 11 days before that game. So he's been 18 years old for less than a month. So he's literally a kid, guys. So he's got all the upside, all the promise, all the tools, but let him develop, let him get there. Um, I've seen some people saying like, oh, Michigan paid $12 million for this. Relax. Like, holy crap, relax. And that's 12 million over all 4 years, by the way, because I keep hearing everyone just say 12 million over and over again. So there's that. But Yeah, we didn't look like Michigan football. We often just line up with an extra lineman or a big tight end and just play bully ball on offense and defense, just control the line of scrimmage. And that was literally what Oklahoma did to us on both sides of the ball. So, in terms of playing that pretty straightforward Michigan brand of football, they out Michiganed us. And that's unfortunately all I have to say. Hopefully, we bounce back better this week. I mean, we better with playing Central.
Yeah.
No offense to them, but you're not Oklahoma. Um,
Hopefully we win now, because if we lose,
oh, if
fuck.
we look to Central, if for whatever reason Central comes out and does to us what Oklahoma did to us, we'll talk about it then. But
We'd be so cooked.
I'll be like,
So
oh.
cooked. So pack it in, boys.
All right. How about the Michigan
wrap Bryce
Panthers?
Underwood in some bubble wrap and redshirt him for the rest of the year and call it a
Absolutely.
day.
If that were to happen, I would.
It's like, all right, bro, give up. But the one thing I wanted to say before we moved on fully was we let Oklahoma average 3.9. Well, we let John Mateer average 3.9 yards per carry. Javante Barnes averaged 4 yards per carry. On top of that, every single receiver who caught a pass other than their backup running back had double digit averages per reception. So Deion Burke, 7 catches, 101 yards, average of 14 and a half per catch, 1 touchdown. Jaron Kanik, 5 receptions, 69 yards, average of 13.8. Isaac Satania, 4 for 44, average of 11. Keontez Lewis, 3 for 36, average of 12. Javante Barnes, 1 for 16, average of 16. So what that tells me is shit ton of big plays down the field. That's what we watched it happen too. So that really is my biggest concern right now for Michigan football because we knew the DBs were, shaky. We got to get it together, man, because we can't go play Ohio State with who they got and have that shit happen, dude. Because I'll tell you what, if we thought it was bad that Ohio State won the fucking Natty, if they win the Natty and then blow us out, ooh, baby. Ooh, baby.
Don't want to think about that right now.
Yep. Well, and that's the thing. That'll kind of go perfectly into what just happened to us as Lions fans because we just got blown the fuck out in Green Bay and I was there. Not great times. Not great times, boys. And I'll tell you what. Last year I was there and we blew them out. That was awesome. Great time. Super, super cool. And literally, my cousin, so long story short, my cousin works for a ticket company, and that's how I got the ticket last year because I got it for free this year and last year. Luckily, fucking, I'm so lucky for that. But literally, he hit me up the day before the game at like 4 p.m. and was like, hey, man, I got an extra ticket. You want it? And I was like, sure. Left at fucking 8 o'clock in the morning, got to Green Bay at like 1 o'clock their time or whatever it was and went to the game and then drove home afterwards. So I had 12 hours of driving and about 5 to 6 hours of watching the game and pre-gaming and things like that. And we basically put up 6 points. I don't even think I should count the Isaac Tessa touchdown because that shit basically didn't count. It was cool though because it was in the end zone I was at. I was right on the 10-yard line, like 15 rows up, and it was literally like right in front of me, which was super sweet. But it fucking sucked overall. Unfortunately. It's like I do honestly love Lambeau and like most Packers fans are really cool, but it sucks to be at another team stadium and get walloped the way that we did, man. And just to kind of go through it, I left my notes from last week on here. Not the whole thing, but my keys for the game. And I'm going to say this, and you're all going to say, yep, that's exactly why we lost. It's kind of crazy. But it's also what everyone could have told you was going to happen. I feel like everyone knew. Pass rush, interior O-line, coordinators. That's the big three. It felt obvious. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back. I'm saying that to say that we all knew what the fuck was going to happen. I feel like everybody on Twitter acting all dumb. Like they're like, well, we're fucked. We suck and blah, blah, blah. We knew these were the question marks we had all offseason, guys. Frank Ragnow retired, and everyone, collectively, I guarantee it, screamed fuck at the same time.
Yep.
Every Lions fan was like, fuck. Oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, Frank Ragnow retired, of all people. And I kind of feel like we did see it coming somewhat. Not now because it seemed like his foot was doing or his toe was doing better, and it seemed like everything was in a more positive upturn. But he retired. So I just say that to say I feel like calm down a little bit, everybody. I was at the game. It sucked. We got walloped, like I said, but chill out a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of run through this pretty fast. Last week, these are my keys for the game: Lions defensive line, Lions interior offensive line, and the play calling / new coordinators on both sides of the ball. Now, my questions were the pass rush. How would Tyleik Williams play? How would Davenport play? How would Hutch play coming back? Right. Well, not great. The pass rush was basically non-existent. We didn't get home at all. Hutch had zero stats collectively. Davenport not great. The run defense was pretty good, I will say. Um, Especially the interior guys, Tyleik and DJ Reader did a really good job. It seemed like the Packers were really just getting yards on the outside for the most part. There obviously were a few runs that went up the middle, but it didn't seem like anything insane necessarily. And then I'm really like, it's obvious to me that we need to add another edge, and I feel like we've been saying this for so long, but I don't think we're gonna. So we're gonna see. I guess we'll just see. I'm not gonna act like I know more than Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. So if we suck, then we're gonna have to add somebody, whether they like it or not. If we don't suck, we'll be all right, and I'll be happy. So doesn't matter. Really, my opinion doesn't matter that much because at the end of the day, what's gonna happen is gonna happen. Now, Tyleik Williams, like I said, he was pretty solid, but he needs to get a little bit more pass rush. I felt like there was a couple times in the game he could have just kind of bull rushed his way to the quarterback, and he just kind of didn't. It seemed like there was a handful of plays where I don't know if he was playing contain or what he was doing, but it just seemed like he wasn't really trying to push the pocket. Um, so sorry, my dog just dropped something behind me. I was like, what the fuck? But it seemed like there was a couple times that he could have pushed the pocket and just didn't. I don't know what that is, if it's a play call thing or if he's like I said, I don't know what he was doing, but I would like to see him try to push the pocket a little bit more, especially when you have Hutch next to you. That would help him out immensely if Tyleik could make some sort of pressure. I think they would have to think about, obviously they're still gonna, double Aiden, but it would definitely be a help. And then, like I said before, the Lions interior O line. Literally, these are my question marks. Run game, Goff, and the new scheme for the interior O line. And it literally, Ratledge half the time didn't know where the fuck he was going. He was blocking the wrong direction, doing shit like that, which he's a rookie in his first start in Green Bay. Not that surprised. It didn't look great, but I don't think I'm ready to fucking say he sucks. That'd be insane. Um, so point is that all the stuff that happened with our interior O line is very fixable in my opinion. It's all just little stuff, coaching. Obviously, we're not as good as we were last year. I think everyone knew that though going in. As soon as we lost Zeitler, we weren't going to be as good as we were last year. And then Ragnow retired, and it's like, so you're telling me we're going to have Mahogany, Glasgow, and who knows? And obviously that became Ratledge, but we have an entire new interior O line. So, and that comes down to communication, plays, calling out, different rushes and blitzes and fronts and different things like that. The center does a lot on an offensive line. So, the fact that we have a new one is a pretty big thing. Um, I do think they kind of had a lot of issues all day with communication, missing blocks. Like I said, players not knowing the play. Um, I do feel like, and call me crazy if you disagree, but I feel like Ben Johnson is less of a loss than Frank Ragnow has been so far. I feel like
I agree.
Ragnow retiring is like literally, it's like our train was on the tracks fucking chugging and it's like it's like you ever seen Final Destination, and you know how
Yep.
they'll kind of like some random shit'll happen, like a pin will come out of something or whatever the case will. That's kind of what it was like when Ben left. It was like that little like ding, and that pin fell out and you're looking and you're like, oh shit, That's gonna come coming back later. Well, when Frank Ragnow retired, that's when the fucking thing explodes. That's what it felt like. Like it was like, oh shit, we might be fucked. But we'll see. We'll see. I do think that these guys, can definitely get better. Um, it is what it is.
They better.
They better get better because if
Yeah.
not, we're pretty fucked. And that's the problem too, is that it's like so many people are acting like the sky is falling right now, but I'm not quite there yet. Um, but with that being said, what are your thoughts on the Lions' pass rush D line and their interior line?
I'll reverse engineer this and start with where you left off. And in terms of the skies falling or not falling or however people want to feel, of course, you are entitled to your opinion. Who isn't? Um, but I would like to, as politely as I can, say, how did we go from the best record in franchise history, 15-2, to panicking after a single loss? I know we lost the coordinators. I know we lost our two interior um, Pro Bowl and All Pro linemen. Like, I know we still don't have a Lee McNeil. I know the starters didn't play in preseason, which, if you follow me on X, I beat with beat that horse with the 15 sticks, and even more today when Goff came on. I think it was 97-1. 97-1 at least posted it, saying that Goff says it should take, or not should, but it might take 3 to 4 weeks for the offense to gel together with the communication, learn the verbiage, all that kind of stuff. Because once again, I said 3 to 4 weeks sounds like the duration of a preseason that you're supposed to get ready for the season with. But I'll digress on that. But I feel like I shouldn't say most, a large chunk of the interior O-line problems was just communication. These guys are not that bad. Even taking a step back from Bragg now, because all due respect to Glasgow, he's I'll just say average center. I felt like he's a better center than guard, but of course he's a step down from Ragnow.
Yeah.
Like, there's only one Ragnow. All 32 teams want a Ragnow. And Mahogany, who I was big on drafting, is obviously not Zeitler. He's not a Pro Bowler with, 10, 12 years experience. So it was guaranteed to be a step back no matter what. Now, that doesn't mean the sky's falling, but there's obviously, some level of concern, which, I mean, we all talked about that pregame. But there were so many plays that showed up on X afterwards that they're blocking the same guy where it looks like that's not meant to be a double team because they're both kind of like in the middle of the guy and they're stumbling over each other. And it seems like there was a couple plays that it should have been a trap and the guard didn't go trap. So I feel like it's mostly a communication thing. And if that's the case, if it's just a miscommunication, you can just talk that out, get over it, and fix it for the next game. Now, if these guys have the good communication, they're trading off, they're doing what they're assigned to do, and then they're still getting beat that bad, then it's a problem. But so far, we haven't seen that. If that is the case, we just might be screwed. Um, it just is
Yeah.
what it is, but we haven't seen that yet. I would hope. I mean, I should say I feel very strongly that we will fix at least that part of it, like the miscommunications and all that. Um, we play the Bears this week, and the Bears looked pretty dysfunctional, to say the least, after their set amount of scripted plays. They had 4 false starts in the first half at home. So even though I seen some fans kind of woo the day we lost Ben Johnson, I'm like, well, the team with Ben Johnson had a ton of miscues as well. So both of these teams are learning their new offenses, they're learning their new systems, and we'll see how that shakes out. in terms of the pass rush or lack thereof, um, obviously, I know it sounds stupid, but you can't start talking about the pass rush without saying obviously it needs to get better. Like I believe we generated as a team 6 total pressures, which is pathetic. There's no other words around it. Hutch had 3 of them, and then each of the other 3 starting D linemen had 1. So yeah, so like I know Tyreek is not known as a pass rusher or anything like that, but over a course of 50 some snaps, I would hope you'd win at least more than one of those. Of course, that is counting the run plays in there, so it wasn't all 50 pass rush reps, of course.
Hmm.
But Davenport, at least he stayed healthy. He made it through week 1, but I don't think I've heard his name the entire night. Um, there were, I don't know if once again if I'll call them miscues, but it just didn't look right. And I don't think it's a talent thing, at least at this point in time. I don't think it's a talent thing. Of course, I've been beating the drum for wanting Zadarius Smith back throughout the offseason. In the super early offseason, I wanted to make a big swing and go for like a Miles Garrett, which obviously didn't happen. And granted, with the contract he got, was never really an option, but it was fun to talk about for a couple weeks. But like the Trey Hendrickson stuff, like I get it, it's fun conversation, but like something needs to happen. I mean, like I said, even Hutch didn't look like Hutch. And I know some people, I want to try to word this carefully. Some people say, well, it was his first game back. Obviously, he had that terrible leg injury. And I mean, that's true, but I watched him 2, 3 weeks ago live at open practice destroy Panay Sewell. So he looked pretty good then. So, I mean, I don't want to create an excuse for him, but at the same time, I don't want to drag him either. I mean, he's my guy, but he had a bad game. The
I
whole
mean,
team had a bad
honestly,
game.
with him, the one thing I don't like is that, bro, we heard all fucking off season about how much better he looks right now than last year and how he's fucking got the Hutch rule and all this shit and how
Yep.
he's so dominant. And my thing is, that feels like the media just kind of setting him up for failure because he, like you just said, he's coming off that big leg injury. And I mean, now it's like if he doesn't have 20 sacks, people are going to be pissed. I guarantee it. By the end of the year, people are going to be so fucking mad, dude. Because they're like, oh, he was supposed to be the best defensive player in the league, and he only had 16 and a half sacks. And it's like, well, that's still pretty good, guys.
Yeah,
You know?
I was gonna say, I'm like, pending on that number, I would agree potentially. If he has 16 and a half, that's a hell of a year. People
Yeah.
get over yourselves.
If he has
If he only,
six and a half, like,
yeah, I'm like,
that's a
if he
different
has like
conversation.
5, okay, let's talk.
Yeah.
But, but yeah, if he has 16, I would put the number at like even 12.
I'd say
Anything
like
over
13. Yeah.
12, I would
Yeah.
be at least happy with. Anything over 15, I'd be ecstatic. And if he hits 20, I might do a cartwheel on stream. And by the way, I have concrete floors and I don't know how to do a cartwheel. So, so next live stream after that will be from the hospital. And, but yeah, like so, like I said, I'm like it's one game. There's 16 more of these. I'm not gonna over exaggerate anything I've seen, with the exception of the Tesla catch. Because, yes, it was 100% garbage time. We only went downfield because Green Bay was playing prevent defense and making us eat the clock. I get all of that. I accept all of that. It's true. But my God, what a catch. Between the athleticism just to physically catch the ball, the football IQ to know his surroundings and make sure he has both feet in. He knew not to bring it to his body because his body like jerked when it hit the ground. Obviously, you have a sudden stop, but he held the ball in his hands away from his chest, so that way the ball wouldn't bounce off his chest. Um, it's all the traits you want to see. And I mean, obviously, we saw him make plays in the open practices. He made plays all preseason. I know that's against other teams' fours and fives. But we need to start getting him more involved in the offense. And to be fair, Dan Campbell said they're planning on doing that. So, I mean, there you go. But I do have faith that this stuff will turn around with the O line. Hopefully, I mean, you can't be much worse. Hopefully, having better communication, gives Goff more time, gives your receivers more time, opens up lanes for the run game. Literally, as if you listen to this podcast, you know, O-line is the heartbeat of the offense. And we have so many good skill positions between Montgomery and Gibbs, and now we just added another. I don't quite want to call him elite yet, of course, but another at least I'll say fascinating prospect to go with St. Brown, who is elite, and JMO, who's really good. Just coming off his contract extension, which I love. Anyone, once again, who watches the program knows I love JMO. Um, but just calm down. I hate to keep quoting Aaron Rodgers, but we got to relax here. Like, it's week 1. Now, if we still look like this, like if this is what we look like in week 7 or 8, okay, let's talk, let's panic, something's got to give. But
Yeah, if we go 0-8, I think we should definitely panic.
yeah. Yeah, like
I'd
if we
say
still look
so.
this bad, if we still aren't blocking like basic, like they're not even hard concepts. Like I don't want to
Yeah.
get too far into the X's and O's, but like if we still look like this, 2 months from now, all right, we'll have a completely different conversation. But for now, let's just see what happens Sunday.
Yeah, and that's a good point because I think it was Hutch that said it. He basically was like, "Dude, we lost to Seattle like 2 years ago. We had a loss against Tampa last year early on, and people were like, the sky is falling, and they figured it out. So I'm not really that worried about it. The one thing I will say that I've seen a lot on Twitter, and maybe you saw this interaction that I had, but this thing about that the OC being in the box, like, oh my God, dude. Did you see what I'm talking about?
I did not, but I've had several
Okay.
conversations with people on X about that.
So basically, I'm I'm not gonna call out by name because I just don't feel the need to do that. But there was this guy on Twitter who has his own, sports media thing that he does, um, and basically he just said that it's bad that John Morton is in the box instead of on the field like Ben Johnson. And honestly, I wasn't even aware when I quote tweeted this that he was saying he said it because he quoted himself in his own tweet, which is kind of confusing.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm going to just leave that there. Um, I quoted it and I said, anyone who, you know, anybody who thinks that the OC being in the box versus on the field really changes anything is a fucking idiot and shouldn't talk about the sport, let alone be able to, or I said should not be able to watch the sport, let alone be able to talk about it. Now, what I read was the guys from 97.1 were the ones saying that, so that was directed towards them. Of
Yep.
course, he got butt hurt and kind of searched through my Twitter and looked for different shit to disagree with me about and just argued with me. Um, which I thought was weird as fuck, you know. And
Who has the
anyway,
time for that?
yeah, exactly. Anyway, and I've seen him do it before, so I was like, all right, I'm just going to unfollow him and move on because it is what it is. But point being, this whole situation, and I thought it was really funny because he told me to come on his show and talk about it. And I said I'd love to and did not get a response. So if you were watching this for some reason, I'd still love to. And I'm just going to say the same shit I'm about to say right now. So be prepared for it. I'll even give you the fucking film, brother. Prepare for what I'm about to say. So, anyone who has watched a football game before knows that most coordinators are in the booth as it is. Okay? That's a very, very normal thing to do. If you don't understand why, I'll break it down for you. The offensive coordinator has a headset, much like the one I am currently wearing. He says, here's the play, Jared Goff, into Goff's mic in his helmet, either fucking way. If he's on the field or off the field, he says it and gives the play the same exact fucking way. And these people are saying, well, how Goff can't quote unquote cook up shit with his OC because his OC's not on the field. Brother, do you think those mics just turn off when they're not on offense? How do you think this shit works? Genuinely, they only turn off when the clock hits 15 seconds on the play clock when you're on offense. So what difference does it make? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't see why people are so hung up about this.
Well, according to the person I talked to today on X about this very subject, it lowers team morale if they're in the booth, not on the
Buddy,
sidelines with the team.
this ain't youth football, my boy. This is NFL. They have 95 motherfucking coaches on that sideline to do whatever the fuck they got to do. What the like what are we talking about? And I even said that to the guy. I said, "Do you think an offensive cuz he was talking about how the 15 seconds like after the thing turns off,
Mhm.
the 15 seconds, he's like, "But he can't talk to him then." I said, "Brother, do you think this motherfucker's yelling out on the field? Like, in golf can hear him? Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Like,
With
and
all
this
the
is my problem.
crowd, with all the
Yeah,
linemen calling coverages and calling out numbers and pointing out who the mic is, you think,
bro,
okay,
I can barely get my linemen to hear anything I say, let alone what I say. I have to scream at them. And this is, no disrespect, a smaller D1 football program. We don't have a lot of people at the games, is what I'm getting at. Okay? It ain't no NFL fucking shit. It's probably like 500 people max. There's fucking 50,000 people at the Lions games. So it's like,
yeah.
let's be fucking realistic right now, dude. Like, that means nothing. It changes nothing at all that he is in the box versus on the field. If anything, it's probably better to be in the box as an offensive coordinator because you actually get to watch the fucking game. You're
Thank
not
you.
just looking at it from the fuck. Because I'll tell you, as an O line coach, it kind of sucks sometimes being on the field because I have to go at a specific angle. You know what I mean? To be able to see who's blocking who and who fucked up. Like that's literally what it comes down to. Is like I have to be behind or in front of the offense. I can't be right on the line of scrimmage because then I won't know who didn't block who. And
Yep.
that's like I said, it almost makes more sense to be in the box. Our OC's in the box too. I just don't get it. These
I'm like,
people are dying on a hill that makes no sense.
I've said for years that at least offensively, and I only, how do I want to word? I only separate offense because that's my bread and butter. Obviously, anyone can watch a defense give up a play and be like, that defense sucked. But when it comes to like X's and O's and like figuring it out, I'm much, much better on the offensive side. When I played football only at the high school level, it's not a brag. Many, 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 many people do. I played quarterback and wide receiver. I can tell you way more about the offensive side of the ball than I can defense. If I was an offensive coordinator, would love to be in the booth. You can see the routes develop, especially in, as we mentioned on a prior podcast, how big some of these linemen and stuff are. They get in your way. There's NFL cameras, there's refs, there's chain gangs, there's other people on the field in front of you. You can't see the back receiver if he was open on that route to call it again. But from the booth, you can. You can watch every single individual player, almost like an all 22 live if you're in the
Hmm.
box.
It's exactly
So,
what it is.
so
Literally.
so I'm like, if I was an offensive coordinator, I would want to be in the box. So
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
And that's the thing for me too is like it even goes deeper than that too. And you're definitely like totally on the same wavelength with me on this because it's like if I was an offensive coordinator, I'd rather be in the box because I can see what coverage they're running. I can see what shade their D line are in. I can see if they're coming and blitzing us a lot and where they're blitzing us from. It's way easier that way. And when you're in the box as an NFL fucking team, they have instant replay. High school doesn't have that. They can literally watch the play that just happened over again and say, call it again because this guy was open and tell Goff to throw it to that guy. It's that simple. Like, genuinely, it makes it that much easier. So I don't get it, but as we've said many times on this show, a lot of people don't get it. And I mean that in a different way than we don't get it right now. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So with that being said, though, moving on to the last, in my opinion, quote unquote, reason the Lions lost against Green Bay, the coordinators. We kind of knew this was going to be a bit of a drop off. You know, I love Kelvin Shepard. The game plan was not as good as it was last year on defense. It wasn't bad, don't get me wrong, but I specifically remember one drive where I think it was the second touchdown the Packers scored. They scored in 2 plays, bro.
Yep.
2 plays. And I was just like, what the fuck just happened? Like literally, first play, snap the ball, Romeo Dobbs wide open on a post route, gets like 60 yards or some crazy shit. Next play, throws a touchdown. I can't remember who. I think it was Tucker Kraft maybe, but what just open in the end zone, touchdown, bang bang, and it was like 14-3 or something at that point, and it kind of felt like the game was over. Like honestly, as I was sitting there in my seat in the stands, just like that might be it. And it was like second quarter, but that's just how it felt. And that's not to say that, Shepard lost us the game or anything. It's just it wasn't as tight as it was last year in terms of defense. And then offensively, we already know offensive line was not great. I will also say the route combinations, I know I talked about it a lot coming into the season. They were not great in the game, which is very
Yep.
weird because what we saw in training camp was so much
It's a
better.
lot different, yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense. Like I'm looking at these pictures that I see on Twitter, and it's like, why are they fucking three? Why is every receiver 3 yards away from each other?
Three or
Like
four
what the
wide,
hell?
all on the same yard line, same depth.
Yeah, like what that would, and I get because that's just a basic hitches. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, why are we running like over under and all this shit? And the problem too, I think, is this just came to me as I'm thinking about it, but I think he might be trying to get too cute sometimes with the routes. Remember that? I don't. You probably don't, but I remember one play in training camp that I talked about specifically on the pod, where they had a route like a trips formation, and they had like a slant. It was like a sluggo, but it was more like a slant corner, and then they had like the out and up, and then they had the I can't remember if it was just a regular slant or out and slant type situation.
Okay.
But I'm thinking that he might have just tried to get too cute, and that's part of the reason why the O line, or not why, but the O line being not that great means you got to just get the ball out, dog. You can't be having fucking routes doing three receivers can't run three routes. Basically, is what I'm getting at. So it's like you got to make shit easier. But then I watch the game film or see the pictures, and I'm like, it almost seems too simple. It almost seems like too easy for the NFL. So that's kind of where I'm at with, the coordinators. I do feel like, you know, like the Jahmyr Gibbs check down thing, I did not love. 10 passes for 32 yards. That was a record, by the way. Set a record for the least amount of yards with 10 catches in a freaking NFL game, which not great. Um, and then obviously I did see a stat though the other day where Goff actually was getting more time in the pocket than normal. So take that with for what you will. It could mean our routes weren't great. It could mean Goff was holding on to the ball. It could mean a whole lot of things. So I do feel like that's a bit of a bright spot for the O line. If he actually did, he literally statistically had more time than he averaged last year in last game. So we'll see how it goes. But and then moving on to oh, before we move on, Micah Parsons. I just wanted to talk about this really, really fast because I feel like Micah Parsons had a good game, and I feel like a lot of Lions fans are kind of like talking like, he was underwhelming, da 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 da, da.
I
And
have
it's
not seen
like,
anyone say that.
well, I've seen people try to act like Micah outside of his sack didn't do anything. I've
Oh,
seen a
okay.
handful of that of like he had one sack and it was blah 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 and he didn't do shit other than that. But it's like, guys, what you should be thinking about is how they fucking kicked our ass without him on the field half the time.
Yeah,
That's
to
what
me, it's
I'm
a
worried
real
about.
big question for when we face them the next time around, whatever week that is, when he has the full game plan, the
When
full
he's
everything.
healthy, he wasn't even healthy. And that's the thing. Micah Parsons has been one of my favorite edges in the league since he came in the league, honestly. Like, he's one of the best. You can't say he's not. Like, that's what pisses me off about football fans or just sports fans in general. Everybody tries to argue this guy's not that good, this guy's not that good. Yes, the fuck he is. You're just mad he don't play for you, bro. That's it. He is that fucking good, and shut up about it. Like, I'm so sick and tired of people being like, well, like, dude, the same guy that I was talking about earlier was then trying to talk about how Zadarius Smith wasn't even that good for us, and he was $16 million a year and only got this many blah blah blahs with us, and he had this many sacks before he got here. But then I went and searched his Twitter, and when we traded for him, he's acting like it's the best thing the Lions have ever fucking done, and that epitomizes the goddamn shit I'm talking about. Where it's like, you guys loved the guy when he was a Lion. Now that he's not playing for, like Golden Tate, for instance. Golden Tate's a great one. He got traded. He didn't want to be traded. He got traded. And everybody hated him after. You weren't even that good for us. Bro, but when he was here, you had 3 different jerseys of his and we're fucking calling him the best receiver in the league.
Exactly.
So it's like if Amon-Ra, I personally genuinely believe if Amon-Ra for whatever reason was traded fucking next year, Lions fans would somehow turn on him. They just would. And it's because sports fans in general are loyal to the helmet, not anything else. And it's almost like politics where it's like, vote this way no matter what happens. And it's like sometimes the Lions are wrong. I mean, it just happens like that,
Darius Slay, Quandre Diggs.
Yeah, we've been here before
Yeah.
many times, and that's what confuses me the most. It's like, why are you so bought into a team who just started fucking doing anything? And I mean, I'm bought in because I'm a Lions fan, but I'm at least rational about it. Like,
Yes.
it's like this is a perfect way to say it, and I'll leave it at this. When I was at the Packers game, there was a bunch of drunk dudes in front of me who were calling Lions fans bitches and pussies and all this. And one guy was like trying to fight the Packers fan, and the Packers fan was literally so drunk you could tell he could not see that guy. He didn't know where he was. You know what I'm saying?
Jeez.
Like he literally was like obliterated, like fucking looking around like he had no clue what was going on. And at one point, I'm getting ready to leave, and that guy, that drunk Packers fan, turns around and starts talking shit to me because Tesla just scored. And I was like, yeah, let's go, And I was like, bro, shut the fuck up. Like, and I just kind of closed it down. And the Packers fans behind me started kind of talking. And I was like, guys, none of us were on the field. Who gives a fuck? Like, you guys are acting like you just kicked my ass personally. You didn't. Stop acting like that. You know what I mean? It's like your team won. You didn't do a goddamn thing other than spend $300 to sit there and drink beer, you fuck. Shut up. Like, it just irritates me so much because it's like, and then, the Packers fan was like, well, you weren't on the field either. And I'm like, exactly. So you get it now.
Exactly.
Like,
you did not beat me.
What the fuck? Like, what? And that's the thing that blew my mind because I was like, yeah, but like, I was here last year when we blew y'all out. And I was respectful. I didn't call nobody out their name. The one Packers fan that tried to get loud with me, I literally was like, bro, it ain't that serious. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just blows my mind how fans are of anything. And I'll leave it at that. But moving on to the Bears, they were not terrible, I feel like, on Monday Night Football. I feel like obviously they had some dysfunction, but the first half, everybody. This is another thing where hindsight's 2020. Go look at every Lions fan's Twitter from, I don't know, 8 p.m. to about 9:45 p.m. on Monday, and then look at it from about 10 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. And look how drastically different it feels because we all thought, damn, the Bears are good. The Bears are going to win their first game. We're going to look like assholes because we got rid of Ben Johnson. He went over to Chicago and blew out the Vikings in his first game. People were tweeting about how, see, this is why we shouldn't have let him go. We should have fired Dan instead and kept Ben. And it's like, then we go to the second half, and the Bears kind of fell apart. And I mean, think about it, dude. Outside of that pick six, the offense didn't really do much for Chicago in the first half anyway. They only scored, 10 points in the first half? So, point being, obviously Chicago, basically was the tale of two halves for them. I do feel like Caleb Williams was a bit underwhelming in a lot of different ways. His accuracy is off. And I feel like Ben Johnson feels the same way. And I just feel like this game for the Lions is going to kind of come down to what Caleb Williams shows up, obviously. Can the Lions defense, curtail at least, the passing offense of Chicago? Because I'll be honest, I'm not that worried about the running offense because it's DeAndre Swift, and we all know he's a good back, but he's not a guy who's like necessarily going to punish you and run for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns or anything like that.
Don't you?
What does worry me though is DJ Moore and Rome Odunze and Cole Kmet and who's their other receiver? DJ Moore.
I say they
Rome
let
Odunze.
Keenan Allen walk.
Oh,
So I don't know who their new third
no,
is.
the rookie Luther Burden, the other rookie
duh.
that they got. Yeah,
They also have
Luther Burden and
Loveland.
Colston Loveland. Yeah, so they've got a lot and I mean Swift too. He's a pretty good weapon, in general. They have a pretty good, offense, and their offensive line is pretty solid too. So I'm honestly more worried about our defense this week. I feel like our offense can score on the Bears. I don't really think the Bears defense scares me that much. Obviously they played decently against the Vikings the first half, but then kind of fell apart the second half. I mean, JJ kind of picked them apart in that second half. So I just feel like, like I said, the Bears offense scares me more. But from what I saw from Caleb Williams, I'm not that frightened yet. I just need to see a little bit more from him. But our DBs and our defense didn't play that great last week. So it's kind of a coin toss, you know what I'm saying, for me, if how I feel on this. I'm 50-50. Like 50% feels pretty good. Their offense isn't that good, but then 50% of me is like, well, shit, our defense wasn't that good either, especially our DBs. And that's kind of what scares me the most is how are we going to cover all of their. I mean, dude, think about it. They could have a formation that literally has DJ Moore, Luther Burden, Romo Dunze, Cole Kmet, and Colston Loveland on the field at the same time with DeAndre Swift in the backfield. I don't know how we're going to cover all of them, honestly. That'd be tough. So,
The good news with that is watching the Bears game, I've seen several times where Caleb Williams would just overthrow a wide open
mhm,
receiver. So I'm just hoping Caleb Williams shuts down the Bears offense.
yeah, that's valid.
And
And I mean, I feel like it's possible, and that's kind of where I'm going with this. It's like it really all depends on which Caleb shows up because, dude, the Caleb that came to Detroit last year, if that Caleb shows up, we're gonna have some fucking problems, dude. Like he played really well against us last year. Um, and well, in one game he played really well.
I say he
Um,
led the Bears as a team in rushing last week against the Vikings too, and
right.
the Lions have never really been able to figure out running quarterbacks. So
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, I put my three keys as pressure Caleb, better DB play, and we need a better run game on offense. I kind of feel like that's what it comes down to. It's like if we can get the run going and pressure Caleb, we'll probably win the game. Because last week that was kind of the problem. I mean, we couldn't pressure Love and we couldn't run the ball. So if we kind of flip those on its head, I feel like we are obviously the more talented team right now. I do feel like the Bears have a lot more question marks that could become really good players, but we have yet to see, what they're going to be. So with that being said, I do think the Lions are going to win this game. I know I had a bad prediction last week, but I think the Lions are going to win this one, and I would say probably like 27-17, something like that. I do think the Bears are going to put up a good fight, but I just think the Lions are going to pull away with a late touchdown, and it's going to ice it.
yeah, I agree pretty much with the same. I think it's gonna be a close game. I have it like 24-17, so a little closer than you. But I think we wake up. I think we work on the communication. I think the Lions can feed off the crowd noise being the first home game of the year in Ford Field. Um, and I'm not trying to just sound like a jaded um, Lions fan, but Ben Johnson, and more proof last week, has been known to kind of fall apart in the second half and have those third quarter woes. In the first half, especially the scripted first like 10, 15 plays, the Bears offense looked elite, and I'm just like, damn, okay. And then the second half rolled around and it looked like the same damn Bears from last year, and I'm like, well, we're kind of used to that, blowing halftime leads San Francisco and
Jesus, don't
whatnot.
remind me.
So, so I'm like, obviously it's the Ben Johnson homecoming for lack of a better term, which is why I not just because we're a Lions podcast, but I do have the Lions Chicago game here as one of my games of the week because it's the Ben Johnson homecoming. It is the both of the teams have bad taste in their mouth from last week. Chicago had a big lead and blew it to their division rival. They don't not only want to start 0-2 in the season, but especially 0-2 in the division. One of these teams is guaranteed to do that, so I mean it's going to suck for whoever loses between them. Um, but I feel like a lot of Detroit's miscues were, as I mentioned before, communication and things you can easily solve in a week. Like you can obviously talk things out and be like, hey, this is what I mean when I say this, and fix more of that sooner rather than later. But at the same time, Um, I think, and it's going to suck if it hits, but I think Ben Johnson's going to try to be extra cute and draw up a ton of trick plays. And the Bears, while they do have talent, as you went over, and they did improve their O line drastically with Jonah Jackson and Tooney shoring up the guard positions, they, in my opinion, and unbiasedly, they can't match the talent that the Lions have. They have good talent, but the Lions have, in my opinion, elite talent. We have the best 1-2 running back punch, I think, in the league. And if we can get Tesla going, I think we have one of the best trios of receivers in the league.
And
La-
Laporta.
I was about to say Laporta's a top 5 tight end. I
Hmm.
think, and I know I get, oh, you're just a Lions fan, but the stats say they're on my side. I think Goff's a top 5 quarterback. Now, I think he's fourth or fifth, but I know. But over the last 2 years, he is number one in yards and number two in touchdowns. Like, the stats are on his side, and that's with us being a run heavy offense using our two back system. So, like I said, I understand he doesn't have that, like, oh shit factor. No one is sitting there saying, Lions are coming to town. How do we stop Goff? That's not the conversation. I
And
can.
I think that's kind of why I wouldn't say he's top five, simply because they think of every other player on our offense first. I would almost bet money that teams think of Panay Sewell before they think of Goff. Like they're like,
I would
how are
agree
we
with
going to
that
stop
just
Gibbs and
because
JMO? But
I would agree with that just because I think Panay's an absolute tank, but
right.
like Goff is just no slouch, and maybe I'm
No, and
slightly
that's the thing. He is,
overcompensating, but
yeah.
around the league, I feel like his disrespect is insane.
Yeah, I would
Um,
say that like a lot of people were talking about, he's a 15 to 20. I wouldn't go that far. I would say he's top 10, especially after the last two
I would
seasons that
say
he's
ten's
had.
a lock, and I will
Yeah.
admit I will say five's debatable just because in terms of the yards and touchdowns, like I just quoted, those are passing stats. So if you want to include the running, which I haven't, but I'm sure then Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson will be right up there too. So like I'll concede that part, but like I said, I don't I just uh, to summarize that plus the thought I just had through my head because I just had a flashback to on Sunday right after the game ended. Um, I saw someone tweet out a Lions mock draft that had us taking a quarterback in round one, and I'm like, come the fuck on, guys.
Yikes.
I'm just
Hmm.
like, A, it's one game. Why the hell are we doing mock drafts? B, a quarterback, not the DN that everyone's bitching about, or another corner because I've seen a lot of Terry and Arnold slander. And I will admit he didn't look great, but it's year two. Darius Slay looked like crap, and everyone was calling him a bust until year three. That's when he broke out and became big play Slay and was elite for the next 10 years. So like way too early to give up on him, but just I'll end my rant there.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I feel like I feel like excuse me, with Goff, like he gets a lot of unnecessary hate, even from Lions fans. Like I remember when we first traded for him, and I was excited because I thought he was a pretty good quarterback, and I thought he was getting he was underrated, definitely at that point. And I feel like it's one of those things that now, did I see this? Not necessarily. I didn't think he'd become an MVP caliber player, but I did think he would be at least a serviceable bridge quarterback for the next 5 years while we rebuild and get our shit together. Now he ended up being a little bit more than that, which is awesome. The only thing I will say is that contract. We're gonna have to do something about that contract pretty quick. So, Lions fans, keep that in your thoughts and prayers because at some point we're gonna have to restructure that. Um, and hopefully that does not close our window because honestly, honestly, it gets smaller every day, in my opinion, because I know a lot of people are, bruh, fucking Brad Holmes, he drafts fucking all pros with every first round pick. What are you talking about? And I'm like, he has so far. That doesn't mean a lot, though, in the grand scheme of a dynasty. Like, you can't just hit on a bunch of picks and that's it. A lot of shit has to go in your favor. A lot of luck. Like last year, we did not get lucky. We had such bad luck with injuries. We probably, I'm not going to say definitely. We probably win the Super Bowl or at least go to the Super Bowl last year if we were healthy. Probably. But we weren't. And so we didn't. And here we are, another year where we're like, oh, it's our year. And isn't it kind of funny how Lions fans have been known, at least, I'm not going to say the last few years, but in the recent times of being the team that's like, oh, it's our year every year, and then they suck. Like I remember growing up and people would always laugh and be like, Lions fans, man, you always think every year is the year you guys do it, and then you go fucking 4-12 or whatever. And it's like I do think Lions fans should pump the brakes a little bit, even on our expectations, because we want a Super Bowl so bad, but we can't force it to happen. We have to let it happen, and it is what it is. A lot of things have to go good for us. So, with that being said, we will move on to the last point of the show, which is our games of the week. Now, we only have two this week, which, I mean, it is what it is. I think they're the two obvious games anyway. We're probably going to keep it that way, as the season goes on. But the two games of the week, Green Bay at Washington tomorrow night, Thursday night football. I think we all know why. Green Bay just smacked around the Lions. Washington smacked around the Lions last year in the playoffs. And it's kind of going to see like, are the Packers for real? Or was it just kind of a fluke game against a divisional opponent? Because that happens sometimes. We all know that. I mean, there's been times where, I mean, I'm sure we all remember the game that got us moved back in the draft against the Packers when we blew them out like 31-8 or whatever it was, the last game of Matt Patricia's tenure. Or no, I'm sorry. Yes, the last game of Matt Patricia's tenure because that was the Chase Young draft. But oh shoot, where I lost my train of thought. Oh, I feel like this game is going to be a big one for both teams, but also for the NFL landscape in general. Because I mean, think about it: if Green Bay can keep their winning ways up right now, they could potentially be vying for that top spot in the NFC or whatever the case may be. Same thing with Washington. I mean, we've talked about on the show. Washington is one of the best teams in the NFL, let alone just the NFC. So this is going to be a great game on prime time. Both two, I would say, juggernauts right now with the hype coming off the Packers after trading for Parsons and smacking us around. So I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to tell us a lot of how, who's legit and who's just a poser right now. And then it's similar to what? Okay, we're good. My computer was acting funny for a second, but it is similar to the next game that I am going to talk about, the game of the week, which is Philadelphia at Kansas City. We have another Super Bowl rematch. Philadelphia, Kansas City. I don't really think I need to say that much more. I mean, it's that simple. It's a freaking Super Bowl rematch where Philadelphia just put it on the Chiefs, put it on them any way they wanted to. So those are my game. Those are our games of the week. James, what are your thoughts on those two matchups?
Yeah, I didn't pay attention that you had Green Bay and Washington as well, because I'm like, as we mentioned, Washington, in my opinion, is a top five team in the
Hmm.
NFL. Period. I really like Jaden Daniels as much as I did not as a prospect. As I said before, I wasn't a fan of him coming out of college. I didn't think his game would translate to the NFL. I'll own that take. I'm wrong. I'm wrong every so often. It happens. Um, I said what I said. I know in the past I've had people, even fairly recently, like 2 weeks or so ago, dig up old tweets of me bashing him, saying he's not going to be much in the NFL. I'm like, I've already backtracked. I'm not going to go back and delete every single tweet I have. So,
Well,
um,
and to be fair to you, man, I also feel like quarterback is one of the hardest positions, and that's why it's so hard to draft one. It's so hard to find one because we don't have all the information. We don't have enough information as for lack of a better term, armchair GMs. We just don't know enough about any of these players, let alone quarterbacks. So I feel
my
like a lot of people who go back and look through tweets who like look specifically for like draft takes to try to say that you're a dumbass. It's like, dude, that's just not fair. Like everybody gets it wrong in draft takes.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, my takes are my takes. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. It is what it is. That's
Hmm.
why. Hopefully people are here watching us is because they want your and my takes. If that's not what they're here for, then I don't know what they're doing here. No offense, but
Valid
I
point.
thought I just thought his frame was too small. I seen him take some unnecessary hits in college. That college player sent him flying back like 5 yards. I'm like, an NFL player would kill him. So, but he's been sliding a little bit. He needs to get better at that. But he's been sliding a little bit more and isn't as reckless as he was in at LSU. So I'll give him that. But he's fun as hell to watch. I'm definitely gonna watch this game as if I mean it's the only game on Thursday, so I think a lot of people are. And as you mentioned, Tunsil kind of Parsons. Um, don't know if that would be the exact matchup, but something to keep an eye on. I know they moved Parsons all around that D line on Sunday, trying to get him a better matchup. Sometimes, and I will say sometimes, Sewell I feel like shut him down on a handful of plays. Sometimes he got the better of Sewell. It happens. Two elite guys going at it. I saw him go. His sack play was against Decker because they moved him to the other side. I remember it was a third and long, I think it was. Excuse me. And they lined him up in the middle, trying to put him over the rookies. Thankfully, Glasgow and Mahogany double teamed him and put him in the dirt, but that's what should happen on a double team. And so they moved him around. So I'm just saying the Tunsil Parsons may be a matchup. Obviously, you got just overall two elite offenses. I don't want to keep running up the runtime of the podcast here, but it's going to be two teams that have a lot of weapons. I thought Debo Samuel was pretty much empty in the tank. He kind of proved me wrong already. Week one, he had a very good week one. So let's see if he can maintain that. Washington seems to prove me wrong at every corner. So besides I at least said they're a top five team, but the guys I'm hotkeying for the what might be their downfall are the ones that are kind of lifting them up. So hey, maybe I should start talking bad about golf instead of good. Maybe he can show prove me wrong too. Just put that negative karma out there,
Right.
and and then my bad. During my rant, I lost track. Did you mention the KC and Philly yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, that I mean, two juggernauts. I mean, might be that has potential to be the top two teams in the entire league. Um, Jalen Carter, regardless of what you think of that situation, um, I've put my thoughts known on that on X. Will be playing. So both teams are. I don't want to say out of excuses because obviously Rice is suspended and Xavier Worthy's most likely not going to be suiting up. But they still have Juju Smith-Schuster, and I'm trying to think of who their number four was. Um, shoot, it's another team's former number one, just like Smith-Schuster. So I'm like, it's not some nobody at least. It may be
Hmm.
I'm
Oh,
gonna have to look it up.
Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, there you go. Hollywood Brown, former Ravens number one. Um, and Smith Schuster, who after AB left was the Steelers' number one. So I know they're down two of their receivers. Obviously, Rice is the marquee guy there, but I'm not going to act like he has no weapons. He still has Kelsey. He's still Mahomes. Like, get over yourselves. As much as I've had Kansas City's fans, saying, "Oh, injuries are part of football. Get over yourself." When we lost after 15-2, same thing right back at your butts. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, there's a better showing from Philly's offense. As much as their fan base annoys the heck out of me, between Barkley, Brown, and Smith, they need to have more. Like, though, it was not a good showing week one, even with the W. Um,
Yeah.
it was bad. I have a couple of those guys on my fantasy team too, so come on, guys, step it up. And um, and yeah, and then obviously the defense with Carter coming back, they're loaded, man. They are absolutely loaded. They just traded for Tank Bigsby. Like I don't really expect him to make a impact whatsoever, but just the fact that this team is solid as hell, coming off a Super Bowl, they're still trading away picks and they're still adding to this roster. One thing I kind of admire about them, but at the same time, I hate when they do something like that because then I see Lions fans being like, "Well, if they do it, why don't we?" And I'm like, "Because we're two different teams, we're in two different situations." Like, did you want to add Tank Bigsby to this team? He would be like running back 3 or 4. So it makes no sense for
Yeah.
us to do it. Um, but yeah, that should be a heck of a game, and yeah, now I'm just wanting to watch it.
Right.
Now I just
See
wish
what
I could just
sucks?
turn around and be like, all right, let's go.
What sucks is last week I put my 2 games of the week, and one of them was Baltimore Buffalo, which we all knew. But unfortunately, I was not I literally could not watch any other football game last week other than the Lions loss because I was fucking driving all day that day. And then Monday I was able to watch that game, which was nice. But
I was
so
gonna
I
say, I'm like, it
missed
was a good
both.
game.
Yeah, it was. It was a pretty good game. But I missed both of the games of the week last week, and I will miss the game of the week tomorrow because I'm playing my own game away, and we're like an hour away, and we won't be done until probably at least 9. So I'll miss that whole game, which sucks. But it is what it is. But with that being said, that will do it for this show. We appreciate you guys for watching. As always, hit the links in the description. Fanatics is the place for you to get your shit, all your sports shit. Buy it there. It'll be at a better price there than pretty much anywhere else. And they always have really good deals. So also, trytheworld.com. Link is in the description. Click it, pick it, and lick it. That should be their new. That should be their new slogan right there, buddy. Because it's a online it's an online shipment service of snacks, baby. You're welcome. But no, click the description, check it out. It's pretty cool. You can try the world in terms of try. You got cats, bro? Try.
I do not.
Sounds like you do, brother. You might want to check that out. I just like saw a cat just pushing a spoon off the fucking table when I heard that. No, but try the world, check it out. As always, I'm at JSoSweet, James at Gullet. I said Ullet at Gullet_James. And both of us at MI Sports Media and misportsmedia.com. As always, we appreciate you guys for watching, and we will see you next week.